Look, man, small hoods, forgotten hoods. This ain't Wiggins. I'm gonna give you the foundational of history when the 211 gangsters were active in Hawthorne. When Marcel was active in Hawthorne, we would predominantly share the set with a lot of cliques and crews. The main gangs, established gangs that we shared the hood with were the Hawthorne Pyrus and the Lil Watts. Lil Watts were outside of us. Hawthorne Pyrus pretty much were on the same side on Prairie before the homies took over Prairie. To this day, the Hawthorne Pyrus are still on the other side of Prairie, closer to my section, which is El Segundo. The cliques and crews, the forgotten hoods, big ups to all my guys from S.A.N.G. They were a crew called S.A.N.G, scandalous ass niggas, and they were green rags. They decided to flag the green rag. They were the closest set to us. I call them a set. They were a crew like us at the time. We were a crew. We were a clique. The S.A.N.s had numbers, and they stretched from Doty to Roselle on 132nd. Between 132nd, I'm gonna say between 135th and El Segundo, Doty, Roselle, 132nd. You come over east of Doty, you're gonna be in my set. I went to school with all of them. We all went to Lozinger. Most of the U mobs went to Hawthorne High at the time. Eucalyptus mob. Let me tell you, we had PLC, Pimpin' Like Crazy. We had the S.A.N.s. You had the Eucalyptus mob before they turned Lebanon gangsters, before they even clicked up with the KTRs. We had KTRs, which is right now Lebanon Gangster Crip, Southside. All right, the U mobs are the West Side. And before they clicked up and turned gray rags like us, they were green rags. So it was two green rag cliques in our hood. You had the DANs. You had so many, bro. 4FM. We had so many cliques and crews. That we shared the set with. We got along with them, with every single one of the cliques and crews, because we weren't really predominantly beefing with none of them. We were already getting into gang activity with the Lil Watts. We probably weren't the first hood in Hawthorne as far as gangster crip hoods to kick it off with the Lil Watts. They got real bad. But the S.A.N.s had a shack on Roselle, 132nd. Then they had a spot on Doty and 132nd. We had Cornbloom stretched out. Mind you, my hood park is on 133rd. That's our original hood park is Betty Ainsworth, is Hawthorne Memorial. But we had a tiny park inside the set on Cornbloom and 133rd before it was connected to Zela Davis. It was Zela Davis Park. It had handball courts. It was a real small, tiny little park, and that's where we used to meet up all the time. When the homies coming from 139th, coming towards the set, because we had 139th clique, and then you had us, the 132nd. You had one Trey 9, 211 gangsters, and then you had the one Trey Deuces, 211 gangsters. We're the original. Cornbloom Project is the original base for 211 gangsters, period. We had a lot of homies that didn't live in the set. but were from the set that were banging the 9. And then you had all the original project babies, low-income housing babies that lived in the projects in my turf. How do I know this? Because I lived in the hood, 12942 Cornbloom Ave. Quit playing. With a leader, one of the leaders of S.A.N. stayed right next to my homie J-Lo. J-Lo's house on Cornbloom, between Hawthorne Terrace West and Jason's house was an apartment complex, and that's where Trick lived. And a lot of people didn't get along with the S.A.N.s because they were green rags. Shout out to S.A.N. Now, they were about females. They had females. They smoked weed. They smoked beaties. They had a shot going. They had the rap game on lock. Guns and Ammo. Shout out to Guns and Ammo. The Trick lived in my set. And that's how, we knew Mel, because his mama lived in there. He stayed with his mama in the apartments, and then Precious and some of the other dudes stayed on Doty in 132nd in an apartment complex right there in the back where they used to play dominoes and shoot dice and stuff. And they got into it. They used to get into it with a lot of sets because everybody that was cliques, and all the cliques and crews at the time were gray rags. KTR, gray rags. Us, gray rags. PLC, gray rags. I mentioned the PLCs. That's the homies, bro. They were on 100. They stretched out down 135th and Lamoli, between 135th and 139th. That was their little turf, and they were close to the Lil Watts. They were a little bit closer, bordering Gardena by Crenshaw. They're like 2 streets up from Crenshaw. You go that side on the other side of Crenshaw is practically Gardena. It's still Hawthorne a little bit, but on our side it's Hawthorne. On the El Segundo side, if you cross Crenshaw, is Gardena. So, that's the little brief history. And I can name names. You can talk to Maniac, Bozak, Trey and them. My homeboy, one of my homeboys' sister, Kaya from S.A.N. Then you have female cliques and crews at the time. So we did share the set with a lot of cliques and crews at the time. Yes, we did. Between 93, 94, all the way to 99 was a very hectic time for the 211s. And we decided to piece it out with anybody that was gray rags and even the green rags, because we got along with the U-Mobs and we were probably the only gray rag that got along with all the other green rags. The other gray rags didn't get along with the S.A.N.s and the U-Mobs because they were green rags. We did. They came to the hood. They would come to our parties. We had the biggest parties in Hawthorne in the 90s. Everybody knew about our parties. I'm talking about people coming from Culver City, coming from Sarah High School, coming from Gardena High School. The Dragnets would come over. They were gray rags at the time. They were on the other side over there by the shotguns. They would come over. Before the Thug families were on the other side, actually on the other side on Rosecrans. They weren't on Prairie yet. Now they're predominantly on Prairie. But the main sets at the time that were on Prairie were the Hawthorne Pyrus, bro. And we were slowly, surely getting into it with the Hawthorne Pyrus and the Lil Watts, because the Lil Watts they were upset at the time because, black gang culture started hitting the city when it was a predominantly Mexican area. Mind you, a lot of the Hawthorne Pyrus, they had a lot of Mexicans and a lot of Samoans from their set. We kind of differ a little bit. We share kind of like the same common thing with them because they got a mixed cultural set, just like us. You know, you got a lot of Hispanics. Me and my brother, Puerto Rican. We got like 3 or 4 Puerto Ricans, couple Mexicans, and a couple, you know, Islanders that was from, not Samoan Islanders, but a couple other dudes that was banging the hood. You know, but the Hawthorne Pyrus, the same thing. We shared the same with them, but they were on the A.M.P.M. side, on Prairie on the other side of A.M.P.M. But the S.A.N.G were the closest set on 132nd. We shared 132nd with the S.A.N.G. Yes, sir. You know, I remember Trick getting into it with establishing his hood. At the time, we were close with the Hoovers. The Hoovers used to try to pick on the S.A.N.G, bro, and Trick wasn't having it, bro. Trick got out with the Hoovers, man. He decided got my respect. I seen him come out the apartment building, come down on Kornblum in my hood next to Termite House. My homie Termite stayed on the block. We stayed in the projects. Jason stayed across the street. So we had that little area between 132nd and El Segundo on fire. And yeah, that's a little brief history, bro. I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna keep going and giving y'all a little history. But the S.A.N.G, but I don't even know if y'all knew the U-mobs were gray rags at one time. Excuse me, green rags. You know what I'm saying? Before they turned 11-8. Don't nobody know about that. Wiggins didn't even know about that. You feel me? Like, so many hoods. And then they started getting into it with them before the KTR started getting their identity and became 11-8 gangsters. Kings taking respect. Then they became Respect Gang. Then became Rider Gang. Then they became Rider Gangster Crip. Then they became 11-8 Gangster Crip. Come on, man. We're going to keep it 100 on this channel. See, I was there. So I know. I went to school with all of them. So I know. You feel me? Shout out to the 11-8s, the homies. Rest in peace, Slip. Rest in peace, Strack. I went to school with Strack. I went to school with Wicked 8. I used to smoke weed all the time with the 11-8s. Shout out. That we would meet up at Cordary Park before Cordary Park got took over by the Thug families. That was a mutual park. We took over that park. That was our park at one time. You know, so that's just a little brief history. I wanted to just share that real quick, bro, and because these dudes, you only get a little bit of history of, you know, the 11-8s and the Thug families, because they're bigger in numbers now, and you know, they're active now, and they stayed active for all this time. Shout out to the Thug families. You feel me? They never had no problem with the Thug families, but at the time they were just a little crew, and they were on the other side. They weren't on the active side where we're at now. Now they're super active. Back then, they weren't as active as we were. You know, but shout out to the S.A.N.G, to the PLCs, to all them that we share the hood with, bro. Yeah. You'll see this on a new K-Block documentary, bro. Dosey.